So you guys have probably seen Paul Skenes' warm-up routine. One of the things that he does is actually a water bag routine. So we're gonna break that down and explain why I'm actually a huge fan of that drill and how that actually incorporates into his warm-up process. But first, if you guys are new to this channel, my name is Ben Brewster, co-founder of Triathletics. We're a baseball player development company. We do remote and in-person coaching for thousands of high school, college, and pro pitchers. So first, what's the overall point of water bags in general? Well, this is something that for a long time I've been trying to figure out. How do you get more volume and how can you work on your mechanics? How can you get additional reps in throughout the course of the week when we're so limited on how many throws we can actually make, just given the ability to recover? There's a lot of different ways to do dry reps. You can actually go through your actual delivery and just do a very abbreviated throw. There's still some wear and tear on your arm that way. You can go through and do different medicine ball throws. You can do different water bag chops. You can do PVC pipe dry work. What I actually like about the water bag in particular is that we're adding some additional axial load down through the body. And so what that means is, because there's additional load, in this case we have about 5 to 10% of your body weight in water in the bag, it really is gonna exaggerate the torso posture. And so what I mean by that is, if I start to leak forward, if I go through my delivery, I start to leak forward, this water sloshes to the front of the bag and it actually pulls you way off balance. If you tip uphill, you lean too far back, it pulls you off balance. If you lean too far forward, it puts you off balance, if you lean too far backwards. So it actually incentivizes you to create that stacked position where your torso is over top of your pelvis and you maintain that relationship as you move through your delivery. So again, really good for guys that lose that stack at any point in their delivery. They get uphill, they leak too far forward, and it's just general core engagement. You put this on, there's an instability component of it. And so it forces you to find that stacked position purely as a result of having that additional axial load down through your body. The other thing that I really like about the water bags in particular is that because there's water in that bag, as you go through your delivery, you get some additional feedback on the decel. And so as we're going through, I'll just give you an example rep. As we're going through, you can see that the water is sloshed from one side of the bag to the front of the bag, and you actually get this like whip-like mechanism similar to your actual delivery with the bag. The bag actually has some flexibility in there. And so you're able to actually use your pelvis, your torso, and sequence that energy up the chain, creating hip-shoulder separation, and fling that water out and around into the bag. And so there's an aspect of training the deceleration component as well with water bags. If you think about how the throw actually works from a biomechanical standpoint, and specifically we're talking about the most efficient throwers in the world, the deceleration component is actually as important as the acceleration component. And so you're not simply accelerating the pelvis, accelerating the torso, and you continue on going. What actually is happening is you're properly sequencing the hips, the pelvis accelerates, and then it decelerates into the front leg. When that happens, now the torso can accelerate and then decelerate and send the energy to the arm, and now the arm can accelerate and decelerate. And so there's this acceleration and deceleration process happening. You don't just continue and rotate through your front leg. You actually accelerate and then stick that landing into the front leg. The pelvis sticks so the torso can accelerate, so the arm can accelerate. And so that's also encouraged and incentivized by having the water in the bag. And the better you can accelerate and decelerate, the more forcefully you can throw that water from the back of the bag to the front of the bag. Again, you notice if I just do this, it's not really that aggressive. That water is not flung to the front of the bag. There isn't much flex through the bag. But if you actually stick it, and that's accelerating and then decelerating, you can see that whip-like mechanism actually happens. So you think about the whip-like mechanism, if I was going to crack a whip, I wouldn't just do this. I wouldn't just do the acceleration component. I would do the acceleration and then the deceleration component. And that's how you actually create that whip-like mechanism and send the energy up the chain. So two other options. One is a PVC pipe. I'm not as much of a fan of this. The main reason being because there's not much load, which we talked about, and there's also not that water for feedback. So guys will go through their delivery and then they'll just keep going. There's no auditory feedback, there's no kinesthetic feedback of what's actually happening. And so I don't love that quite as much as the water bag. The other option is something like a medicine ball throw, medicine ball chop throw, which we do use at times, or something like a water bag chop, water ball chop. What I don't love about this as much is that guys have a tendency to take over the throw with their arms. And so they start to muscle up from the upper half and they forget about actually sequencing the energy properly from the lower half. And so while certainly there are some benefits to using the different chop variations, I just kind of find guys end up using their arms and just bypass the entire point of this, which is lower half sequencing. Let's break it down, go through piece by piece what we're trying to feel with the water bags. And then I'll give you guys some recommendations as far as weight, sets, reps, how to incorporate into a routine. You're really trying to touch on the different phases of the lower half delivery. The first one being the drift. You're getting your center mass going forward ever so slightly. You're not just stuck here in a balance point, tipping your hips forward and reaching. You're actually trying to get things going forward as you lift. From there, we're trying to ride that hinge position, ride the backside, stay stacked as we move down the mound. Again, not losing that balance, stacked position, relationship between the pelvis and between the torso. Just into landing, we're trying to feel the pelvis open up, relax into landing while the upper half stays back. And then we're trying to aggressively accelerate and decelerate from our pelvis. Accelerate, decelerate. From there, the lead leg block should happen automatically as a response to that deceleration, and you should really be cueing and feeling this water bag flung forward off your body. And that's gonna simulate this idea of getting that energy funneled from the linear move into rotation, funneled up the chain, out and around into the arm. And so obviously when you're throwing, the arm will be there, the arm will be in plane, and that energy that you're funneling out and around, instead of going into the water bag, that's gonna be going out and around into the arm and creating that whip-like mechanism. So a couple reps here so you can see how it all comes together. I like putting the hands on the straps here to kind of secure it in place. Drift, forward move, ride sideways, rotate, decel. So how exactly does remote coaching work? You will have unlimited access to text and email your coach, hop on weekly FaceTime calls, and receive regular mechanical and training updates. Each day, your plan will detail exactly what to do from start to finish, with instructional videos for every single throwing drill, mobility routine, and lifting exercise. Nobody's going to do the work for you, but we can show you the path to get there. It's your career. Let's get to work. So 2 quick coaching cues with this. I would recommend trying to mimic the regular leg lift height and tempo that you normally have. So if you're a shorter leg lift guy, if you're a big high leg kick guy, you're trying to actually create patterns that will then immediately go and transfer to your actual delivery. So try to replicate whatever your normal leg lift would be, normal tempo. Don't suddenly change everything that you're doing for the sake of this drill, or it's not gonna transfer. The second thing would be, as you actually move forward down the mound, don't think about producing as much force as you can into the ground. It's really more about riding tension on the backside, riding it as far as you can, and then rotating. So some guys will do this, they'll jump here, and then they'll just try to think about how hard can they push into the ground. Again, this isn't just water bag stuff, this is just pitching mechanics in general. Guys have that misconception, but really try to feel yourself stable in the back leg, drift, ride, rotate, as opposed to getting over aggressive, overactive on the backside, and the quad starts to extend you. That's gonna be a sign you're muscling up the lower half and lunging down the mound, which is actually not what we want. As far as sets and reps with this, I would say somewhere between 10 and 20 reps, a couple sets. This is something that you can do in a pre-throwing phase before you get into your catch play, your long toss, your bullpens, whatever else you have for the day, your plow care drill work. But again, this is something to really feel the lower half kinematic sequencing. From there, take it off, pick up a ball, and you're gonna feel everything just ties in a little bit nicer. And again, it's about the order of operation, making sure you're getting everything possible out of the lower half, out of that pelvic rotation before the torso comes in and before the arm comes into the throw. So all in all, big fan of the water bag stuff that Paul Skenes uses in his warm-up. We were not the first ones to begin using that when it comes to pitchers, but it is something we've been using for a couple years with our guys. We've really enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead, drop a comment down below, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and let us know what videos you'd like to see in the future. Thanks for watching.